Zachary, I am Kristen, and I'd love to talk to you about this. I already sent you my email address, but I sort of have come to think that microchipping is not going to work until we can get rid of the third party, until like every cell phone can scan the microchip. Do you think that's true? Like, I feel like that third party piece is just what kills it, because people have to know enough and have the capacity to be able to go do the work to locate the pet. Do you have any thoughts on that?
From what I've just read so far, it just seems that either the issue is that all the companies can, set their standard of which signal that they want to use, and then if there's not that universal tracker, and your dog gets lost and or cat, you could be really out of luck in that situation. I think if we did mandate that and allow everyone to have like the same scanners, we'd probably cut down some of the issues and maybe in the recidivism and some of the other tragic outcomes. But I really don't think it would happen unless either the states made it happen or we federally made it happen, because if those companies want to keep their right to their intellectual and property, which is what I keep seeing comes up as I wouldn't say it as an excuse, but that's the words that's coming to my head right now. I think we'll still unfortunately be in the same position that we are, working with 3 different signal waves and multiple scanners to try to do that. It makes it inconvenient, and then also I guess causes a learning curve for folks when it comes to like the sensitivity of the technology and all the different things like that. So not to say that my research has made me feel like there's just been a lot of like, there's no hope, because it seems people have tried. I know there's like that central database, that I think the American Veterinary Association has put together, but I'm just not sure if that's underutilized. I know a lot of companies, it's a voluntary process. So there's that. There's so many missing pieces in this issue.
Thank you so much for being here, and we'd love to talk with you more about this. I think there's probably people on this call that have done quite a lot of work in this area. So if you're open to being reached out to, that would be really great, because I think there's folks that would feel like they have something to add. And I want to just create a minute of space in case anybody feels like they want to add something now.
Hi, Bob Tubbs here. I just have a question. Are you planning to publish your findings in a competitive marketplace? It may be helpful to kind of, I don't want to say rank them, but some may have better features than others. If people are doing competitive bids and looking at these products and services, it may be helpful to have and it's probably already out there, but as long as you're doing a capstone, you would probably be in a position to know what's going on sooner than later. In other words, you have the most current data because you're working on it.
For this capstone, I don't think we'll be publishing it. It'll be more, I'll be presenting it to like some of the folks at the school, some of the teachers and some of the different professors. If it was to gain traction, I would love to push it in a different direction like that. That would be like a hope. But for right now, I don't think there's any publishing. I don't think I'm moving towards publishing it anywhere publicly besides like giving it to my professor to graduate so far. But if it picks up traction, I have no issues with moving that dial forward.
Good luck with that.
Thanks so much, and welcome everybody to the Friday Animal Welfare Leadership Roundup call. We're going to turn it over to Maddie in just a minute, but I want to just mention, related to the subject, one of our upcoming calls, we're going to invite some of the companies and organizations who are piloting new ways of tracking pets, everything from the photo finding rover, now Petco Love, technology to I just got 5 collars for my dogs, and it really has just opened up this whole new world of thinking about like we could actually end dog homelessness, but 5 collars also can be really creepy because they track the movement. Any remote collar, just like the Apple tag, can be used for nefarious purposes. So there's all kinds of like complex questions that come up around the technologies around pet identification, particularly when we look at undocumented, other vulnerable people. And so on an upcoming call, we're going to be talking more about this. And so Zachary, would love to have you reach out and have you come to that call as well. So we have a couple of really exciting topics today. We have a question for this amazing hive mind that I need your help with. And before we get to any of that, I want to turn it over to Kelly Clardy from Maddie's Fund to announce our winners from last month.
Hey, thanks so much, Kristen. So yeah, my name is Kelly Clardy. I am the grants manager at Maddie's Fund, and I am about to do my absolute favorite thing. Like, my favorite part of my job is give away money, and I get to do that today. So yay! All right, so before we get to the winners of our April drawing, if there's anyone new on the call, and for those of you who may just want a refresher, Maddie's Fund gives away $5,000 every month to the listeners of this call. So if you are watching live, all 164 of you who are watching live, awesome, glad you're here. You are eligible to enter to win. If you are watching on demand, you are also eligible to enter. So really, if you are hearing my voice right now, you can enter our grant. I'm going to put the link to enter here in the chat. So just because you are hearing my voice does not mean you are automatically entered. You do need to fill out our quick little form. All right, and with that, let's do our drawing. Well, we've done the drawing. Let's do our announcement. Let me share my screen. All right. Can somebody just confirm that they can see my PowerPoint?
We can see it.
Awesome.
Might want to put it in presentation. There
Yep,
it is.
there it is. All right, y'all. So this is all random. We decide the winners randomly, and we decide the dollar amount randomly. Sometimes we give away one $5,000 grant. Sometimes it's two $2,500 grants. Sometimes it's five $1,000 grants. So let's see what the randomizer gave us this month. Two winners of $2,500 each. We've got Cindy Flogger from Nina Animal Shelter and Ashlyn Boyce of Paws and Claws Chicago Rescue. So congratulations. And Cindy and Ashlyn, if y'all are on the call, we'd love to hear from you.
This is Cindy. I'm on the call. Oh my gosh, I've got goosebumps. That's so exciting. As fun as your job is, it's also fun to be a winner. So thank you so much.
Yes, I imagine. Cindy, tell us just briefly about yourself and your organization and what you would like to do with the money.
Well, I'm the executive director with the Nina Animal Shelter. We're a smaller size shelter located in Nina, Wisconsin, and private, not for profit. We serve about 600 animals a year, primarily dogs and cats. And, you know, this is so interesting because we have our annual garden party coming up, which is a fundraiser we've been depending on. But since COVID, everything has changed, and we just don't know that we were going to generate the same revenue for operational expenses for that event coming up in a week. So this will help fill any holes that may be left by a changed world.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, congratulations, Cindy. And Ashlyn Boyce, are you on today? No. Well, this will be quite a surprise when we reach out to her. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And don't forget to enter our May drawing.
Thank you so much to Maddie's Fund. And I'm so excited in particular to see Cindy win because she's here almost every single week and always participates and always has stuff to share. And so I'm really glad. Congratulations to both of our winners. Okay, we want to just take a moment now to turn to any of our national organizations who are on the call today who have something they'd like to share.
Hey, I'm going to pipe up here. I don't usually, but I just put in the chat a great webcast. It's a series from the Maddie's Million Pet Challenge, and it's called the Futurist Four. And Dr. Chumki Aziz and Dina Wagner and Karen Green are going to come on next Tuesday. Please sign up. You don't want to miss this series, but particularly it's all about the right care. I put a little bit in there. And yeah, I will put the registration link too. Thank you.
Kristen, I'll jump. Oh, go ahead, Jerica.
Good morning, everybody. This is Jerica Owen, National Animal Care and Control Association. I shared last week that we have launched a survey to really find the gaps in the pet reunification strategies between those working in animal welfare and those pet parents who have lost their pet. So we are doing really well in the survey. We have until the end of May to keep collecting responses. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat. So if you have not yet either filled out the survey or shared it with your constituents, please do. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
And I just wanted to tell everybody, since I haven't been on a call for a while, about the Best Friends National Conference. It's July 7th through 9th in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll put the registration information in the chat, but would encourage everybody to show up and sign up. It's going to be a great time this year. So July 7th through 9th, the Best Friends National Conference.
Brent, thank you so much. And we are planning on doing a Friday call roundup, Friday Animal Welfare Leadership Roundup call meetup at the Best Friends Conference. So hope you can join us. The lineup is truly amazing. So many great speakers and topics, and hope you all can come, and we'll give you more information about that. But it'll be a great chance for us to just get together and see each other in person. And many of us just did that at the HSUS Expo, which was so awesome to see everybody for the first time. Although I admit I've developed maybe a little bit of social anxiety or large group anxiety since COVID. I don't know if any of you have as well. But HSUS Expo brings up a topic I wanted to ask you about quickly. So we have two speakers today. One we're going to focus on in particular, which is Dr. Robertson. And just briefly before we get to her, I wanted to sort of share a question with all of you, and maybe you can answer now and maybe you'll have thoughts later, but I think your help is needed. So when we were at Expo, it was really amazing to me how many people were talking about human animal support services and community supported sheltering in general. And it felt like within the movement, there's a growing understanding that so many of the animals coming into shelters don't need to be there, and that if we could keep those animals out who really don't need to be in the shelter system and keep them with their owners, we might have a chance to more sustainably solve the problem and not just end needless euthanasia in shelters, but permanently end it. And that we could create kind of a different world for pets, I think, by really focusing first on keeping pets in their homes and communities. And so that was a widespread theme of the conference. And then I went away for 2 weeks, a week and a half, and came back and was met with more of the criticism coming almost entirely internally from parts of the animal welfare movement, that community-centered sheltering and human animal support services is telling communities, telling animal shelters to turn pets away, to let animals go in the streets, to not help dogs and cats. And I ran municipal shelters for 10 years, so I'm no stranger to criticism. And while it doesn't bother me on a personal level, it does bother me that the idea that helping people keep their pets, helping pets get home, when we know our national lost dog return rate is like 15%, and that we can improve that to up to 80% if we just do things differently. To have that conflated with turning animals away or closing our doors, I think it does pose a problem, because our communities need to change. Our communities need to change their behavior. So the Good Samaritan needs to think, instead of I'm going to take any animal to the shelter, the first thing they need to think is I'm going to try to help get that pet home. And the person that needs to rehome their pet, instead of saying I need to take that pet to the shelter 100% of the time, they need to start utilizing supported self-rehoming platforms. And they need to start going to the shelter for help and resources so they can keep their pet if that's what they want. And so I believe these programs are critical to all of our work. If we don't start really thinking about the human, not just the animal in isolation, we're not going to change, and we're going to be sitting here in 10 years doing everything the same way. And so these critical advocates who are really almost entirely within animal welfare do pose a threat to the belief that pets and people belong together and that the shelter shouldn't be the first answer. And I don't know really what to do with it. Like, part of me thinks we just ignore it and you're always going to have criticism. And part of me thinks like, maybe we need to address it head on and say, no, like, this isn't, turning animals away and closing your doors is not human animal support services or community supported sheltering. But I just don't really know where to go from here with it. And I wanted to turn to all of you and maybe take about 10 minutes just to share your thoughts in the chat or out loud about what we should do. Because whether you're part of HOS or not, these calls are not HOS calls. They're just all of us coming together. I think we all care about moving the movement forward. And so I guess I will shut up and turn it over to anyone who wants to share kind of advice.
I think this is something that we're dealing with directly in Nashville right now. Trying to move forward with the appointment-based intake and encouraging community members, if you found a pet, help that pet yourself before driving it all the way across town and bringing it somewhere that somebody's not necessarily going to go look for it. We're having a really hard time getting that message across. We have a news story that started last week that basically said, Nashville Animal Control is not picking animals up, and they're not helping community members, and they're telling community members to hold on to these animals. And it's becoming very convoluted. We've been talking a lot about trying to create these sort of town hall or recorded town hall, because we also don't want to set our animal care staff up for having to take this hit after hit after hit if we do something live, but just to try and get resources out there. I think one of the problems that we've identified is, you have these people in animal welfare, but we also need to, or who are invested in animal welfare, but we also need to try and find ways to reach out to people who maybe don't have cats and dogs, or who don't necessarily see the animals that are out there. And we're trying to figure out how in the world do we reach out to those people as well. So, I'm on these calls every week. I'm not working for a shelter. I work for a coalition that supports the shelter, but I'm on these calls every week just to try and figure out, what is everybody else doing to try and get the word out there outside of the people who are like, we love animals. Nobody wants to see an animal who is struggling or suffering or, out loose in the street. Whether you love animals or you're afraid of them, the goal is to try and figure out how do we direct these people towards resources to get the animals back.
Yeah.
Trying to figure that out. Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like we're picking at kind of a same old criticism of what is our fundamental duty? Is our duty to support the entire community and the pets that live in our community, or only the pets that come through our doors? And so it's so easy to focus on the pets that come through our doors and thinking about, oh, there's a more ideal home out there than the home they came from, which would be easier to get them back to and easier to support them in that situation. And there do seem to be some, you see it on the Facebook forums or any of these forums that oh, should I do a background check on this adopter? Like, I thought we were done. I thought we were done having that conversation. But no, we're not. And it's just another, I think it's another subject matter to have that same old conversation around.
Hi. There is so much. I'm about to have another major surgery. My name is Hope Winograd, and I'm in the process, or have been in the process, of starting a veterinary nonprofit. And I sit and watch all of the next door and Facebook and finding the, people finding pets and what do they do with them. And the individuals who pick up these pets, and I've been on these calls now since the beginning of the year, the misinformation and social media bashing of people who pick up pets who don't know what they're doing, and the lack of information out there as to what to do is a humongous part of it. And so I'm like, I said to one person who said something, and it was like, oh, well, they only need vaccines once every 7 years. And on those, I don't have the DVM after my name. And I was like, so where did you get your veterinary degree, and how are you giving this information? And so unified, these calls are amazing because there's such cross connection, but what we have to figure out is how to get that level of correct, and that's the best word I can use, correct information out to the individual who, oh, I love a pet and I'm going to do this, but they have really no clue what they're doing. And it has to trickle all the way down. And that's our biggest challenge right now, is getting correct information out to everybody. And that'll be the beginning of fixing it.
Thank you.
I think also part of this is, one of the things I hear through Haas all the time is meeting people where they are. Rather than making assumptions that someone doesn't know what they're doing, trying to help guide them towards appropriate resources. And that's the hard part, is because they don't know who to reach out to try and find those appropriate resources. So, again, how do we get that out to the general public versus just the animal loving people that might be trying to step in and help?
Yeah, if I could add to that, I think that we need to redefine the role of the Good Samaritan. And I think that we really need to say that idea, that belief that the Good Samaritan is the mediator between the bad home and the irresponsible owner. And that person acts to bring the animal into the shelter, where the assumption is it will get to a better, responsible home. And of course, all of that is racialized. All of that has class implications. All of that, is tied up in other structures of power. That idea underlies a lot of this. And for me, I think we spend all day talking about what Haas does stand for. Never once have any of us said that Haas stands for closing your doors to the public, not helping animals, and telling people to turn them away. But people are sort of weaponizing human animal support services. And part of me is like, we don't even need to use the name. It's the concept, the belief that pets belong with people, and the belief that we need to help people and pets. That's what matters, I think, to the heart of what the work we're all trying to do. And I don't want to lose that with what's happening. And I want to hear, Kim, if you could just keep your comment pretty brief so we can hear from a couple of other folks too. And I really appreciate everything you're saying too.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I kind of lost my train of thought. So let other people speak and I'll try and pull that back together.
Julie.
Hi. I think one of the things, at least working within an animal control agency, that the staff internally feels uncomfortable with is some of the messaging. I think that while we're spending a lot of time talking about the concept, it feels like the rest of the work that they do is sometimes just kind of pushed under the rug. And that forces them to come out and go, oh, no, this stuff is still important. So I think based on one of the things that you just said, spending a little bit of time of recognizing that the other stuff still will happen and must happen, and that it is really a combination of both. It's not just all one, that there are many different approaches depending on the situation, is something that we might want to consider with the messaging, because I know that my old folks were I'm going to hold on to this old messaging, not because, and it might just be one or two cases that they have to behave that way, but they want to still be able to know that they're not doing something wrong if they still have to do the stuff that they have to do. So if we elevate that messaging a little bit and show it a little bit as a kind of symbiotic thing, that might be helpful.
Kristen, I saw your question there, and I agree. I think we need to communicate consistently, like Julie's saying, consistent messaging and more frequently. But I'd throw another kind of question at the group, like how do we communicate more when we don't have communications departments or teams or even a single person that's designated to communications?
Yeah, and I want to make sure to be mindful of time and have plenty of time for Dr. Robertson, but it's a really important question of how I don't think I realized how big the shift we were asking people to make was. And the exact same criticisms that are being leveled against this work are the criticisms that came from PETA. Like, they're not different criticisms. It's by doing things differently, you're throwing animals in the street. By doing things differently, you're shutting the doors. And I think shelters have also, in some cases during COVID, in different moments, have actually closed intake in ways that they haven't before. Not by direction of HOS, but I think that has led to some confusion on a practical level. And so I hope we can keep talking about this, and I hope you can keep sharing thoughts and advice, because we don't want to lose this core belief in all of this social media kind of nonsense. And what the data coming out of HOS, I guess in closing, I'll say is that the data that's coming out, and these aren't HOS calls, we try not to fill them with data coming out, but it's showing that these programs are working. We're seeing that when in Greenville, South Carolina, with supported self-rehoming, they've had like 1,500 animals deferred in a year with the owners rehoming those pets themselves. And those owners are able to stay in touch then with the new owner. And we're seeing in lost pet reunification programs, the First 48 program, where people are just asked and invited to hold pets for 48 hours, just 48 hours. 60 to 80% of those pets are getting home without coming into the shelter. Like, we know that these programs work. We know they're more humane. We know they're cost effective. And so we're going to really focus too on sharing more data. And thank you, any of our pilot shelters that are here, they are the brave ones at the very forefront doing the work. And in a way that puts a target on them too. But I think creating change is always going to do that. And I hope we can just kind of keep thinking together about how, in my job, I get to spend all day thinking about this stuff. So if you want to give me homework and communication we need to do better, please, I will be really grateful to get it. And I think to Brad's point, in closing, to Brad's point, frontline staff are given anywhere between 30 seconds and 45 minutes to intake an animal. It varies so widely. And when we ask frontline staff at shelters how many animals are coming into their shelters and why, virtually none of them can answer that question. None of them. None of them even know how many animals are coming in, much less why they're coming. They are just focused on the grind of the work they're doing, the crisis of the work they're doing. And these are all problems that we are working on every single day. So thank you. And please reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat again if you have further thoughts or want to talk more. I want to turn now to Dr. Robertson, who's here to talk about her passion project, something she's been working on for a couple of years. So Dr. Robertson, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think I know many of you in different capacities. I am a shelter medicine veterinarian. I've been working in this space for the past 15 years as a medical director at a municipal animal control facility for 7 years, and then past few years doing international and national type of consulting. And today I want, it's not really a formal presentation, Kristen, so I want to share with you a little bit about a project that I started As Kristen mentioned, now a few years back, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, that I really started on this. What started as kind of small things that I was interested in and has now led to something a little bit bigger. We have a fabulous team of 3 that I'm working with, really developing something called The Journey You Own. And so I want to give just a tiny bit of background about it. And let me see, it looks like there's a few things that were placed into the chat, but I am going to put, let me get there for a minute. I'm not sure if, I think I can put this in here, and I believe I can share my screen as well. So let me take a look. So in background about what it is I'm doing, I have started a project called The Journey You Own, and really it started when I realized that I had been sort of compartmentalizing my life in a way, where I've built sort of an identity around myself being a scientist. So for about 25 years, I have been, you know what, before I go to this, actually, let me not have everybody focused on this. Let me first just take a step back before I go there. For about 25 years, I've been working in science, right? I've been a researcher, I've been doing statistics, been a veterinarian, and have really built that identity around myself as a veterinarian. But there's this other part of myself that started showing up in my consults, which I really felt was being asked and kind of drawn, and I was receiving more and more questions about it. And what it relates to is primarily how I was raised. So I was raised in a sort of non-traditional Indian household where my mom is a spiritual teacher and has been teaching meditation and kind of contemplative practices for her, like, since I was a child. And so my brother and I grew up in this household where we were learning contemplative practices from childhood, and it's really influenced the way that we've thought about our work. And so when I came into veterinary medicine, I brought that with me. And even prior to veterinary medicine, in the mid-90s, I was an anthropology major at Princeton University. And there I conducted field work in India, living in an ashram, which is a spiritual center, really studying these contemplative practices and how we can bring these to Western society. Well, I left a lot of that when I became a veterinarian and was continuing to do it on the side. And then in 2014, a dear friend and a mentor of mine committed suicide. She was a veterinarian, and it was a really big impact in my life to have her leave so suddenly and tragically. And what it really had me thinking about is ways that I could bring more wholeness to my life in the work that I'm doing, and opportunities to share that with others. So that's really what I am interested in doing here with The Journey You Own. So now I'm going to share my screen. What I would like to do is offer a space. This is really an invitation for any of you, for your colleagues, for anyone in mission-driven fields, for your staff. I am planning to open up just a Zoom session, completely free for anyone who wants to join, the last Thursday of the month, except for November, because the last Thursday of the month happens to be Thanksgiving. So I bumped that up a week. And a place where we can gather and practice. So I have been studying meditation both formally and informally now for about 20 years. And the last 3 years, I have formalized that into kind of a Buddhist tradition that I'm following. And so as part of being a student in this, it's bringing these spaces and these practices to others and learning from others in a shared space. So the idea is to spend about 15 minutes setting a view and an intention. and then going through a guided practice for about 15 minutes, where these practices will be different types of practices every month. And then spending the last 30 minutes really sharing some of our ideas, sharing how the practices were experienced. And people can come from whatever way they want to come, either with videos on or off, on with their names or not, anonymously, however they want to join and however they feel safe in joining the space. And I think that this might be an opportunity to really share some of these grounding practices and share ways that we are working with ourselves in this space, which is really challenging, right? There's a lot of trauma in the work that we do. So that is one thing that I'd like to share with you. You'll see when you click on saving the spot, it just takes you into a Zoom registration. Again, you don't have to join every time. In between, in the various months, I intend to share some resources. We'll try out different practices every month, and so there's some opportunities to explore together. And then when you're actually in the website, hopefully you're seeing that I'm switching tabs. Kristen, are you able to see that I'm changing some of the tabs? Okay. So at the top, there's two different ways to access this site. So one thing is this meditation gathering. Another component is a way that I've just created the site over the years. And again, this is a personal project, just for fun, that started out with me placing different content, and now I'm trying to expand that and really share it out. So there's different ways to access materials. Some people, are auditory or more visual, and so there's different ways to access the material on the left. But it's really broken out into areas that I found to be personally interesting. So awareness, social justice, education, the environmental crisis. And when you go into each section, you'll see that there's different ways to access materials. So there's sort of a starting point, a deeper dive, and a beyond section. And for each section, there's a listen, a read, and a view. So there's, videos, podcasts, written materials. And again, these are just resources that I've placed here, that myself, and then I have 3 fabulous people who have been working with me and helping me throughout this, Robin, Jasmine, and Lisa. And so they have also placed resources here. And I am actually putting out a request to anybody to come to this menu, go to the Connect and Contribute, and please share resources, because these are just some of my ideas, but there's so much more out there on these topics. And I think that in animal welfare, we stay pretty siloed, in our fields. We're all in these mission-driven fields, and we become very focused on the work that we're doing, and rightfully so, because we have a lot that we're trying to accomplish. But what we'll see is that there's other fields that are doing incredible work, and that we can learn from them and the ways that they are handling many of the same topics and issues that we're talking about. So there are opportunities to share here. Throughout the year, I've started interviewing people in each of these fields: the education field, the environment field, and the awareness field, and also animal welfare. And I'm starting to record their stories in a series, in a podcast that I'll be launching later on in the fall. And so there's really opportunities here, I think, for all of us to share. I'm going to stop the share right now. It looks like a registration link was placed in the Zoom. And again, this is just a way to support your staff, your colleagues, and all of you, and a way that we can learn together and be maybe in a different space. So if any of you have questions, please feel free to ask them now, or put them in the chat, or contact me. I can place my email here as well. And again, it's really meant for people to come wherever they're at. There's some people that maybe have meditated or had a sitting practice for many years. There's others who have, been curious about it, have never tried it, and are maybe wondering what this is about. And so I welcome anyone to come and, from wherever they're at, and let's see what we can create together. So thank you. Thank you, Kristen, for opening this space up.
It's so awesome. A couple of people have private messaged me saying that the links aren't working.
Oh, let me see if I can put, maybe it's not complete in the way that it was placed there. Please tell me if that works.
Yeah, it works for me, Jyothi, and the link that I put in there works too. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. Thank you very much, though. Making sure. And you can always get there from her, from the website.
That's really odd. It looks like half the people can get to it and the other half can't. So, yep, I'll put one more here. Yes, you can get to it from this website. You can also get to it from, the other website. So I will look.
I think it was the dash. The dash at the end wasn't being copied. And if you copy with the dash, then it works. I couldn't use it and then I could. So thank you.
Okay,
thanks, Tam.
Yep. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thanks so much for that, Dr. Robertson. And Dr. Robertson is also one of the advisory committee members of the Human Animal Support Services Project and has been really helping to lead this from the very beginning. And I think also sort of came to this from this idea that we have to have a more integrated approach to all of this work. Because I think what you've brought to us is that the old way of doing things is just as harmful to people as it is to animals, and that we have to do better by the people working in this movement. And this is a great example of how you bring that spirit and ethic to the project. Okay, we're going to turn now to something really relevant to all of this, which is Erin Greenwood and Casey Spain here to talk about a new toolkit from HeartSpeak that is actually going to be very, very helpful to a lot of you who are trying to implement any kind of programming, any changes this summer, and or are in a space or other crisis, which we know many folks are in or are headed to. So Casey and Erin, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks all for being here. I am really excited about this. I can share, I don't know if I can share my screen. Can I, Allison? Looks like I might be able
Oh,
to.
you should be able to, yeah.
Awesome.
It's looking good.
Okay.
There it is.
So this is our fifth HeartSpeak Haas combo toolkit on communications. If you have not seen the other ones, they all kind of build on each other. And so if you are in an organization that does not have marketing, if you're in an organization that does have marketing and you have not fleshed out how you're talking about community-centered animal sheltering, this is a great place to start. Everything in here is yours to use. Everything in here is customizable. So this month, for the month of May, we are talking about space crisis. Really excited about June. You'll have to look forward to that one too, because it's all about lost pet reunification. So we've got some really great ones coming up, and we've done some really incredible ones. We try to do these in collaboration with a lot of people on this project. We always have important people in this project review the things. So this is not just from my brain. It's not just from Erin's brain or Caitlin's brain. This is definitely a mind meld. So if you go to this link that our wonderful Allison put in the chat so that you would have it, this is what you're going to see. And the biggest thing that we talk about during these space crises, I think that we have all, even if you are in a rescue, you have been a part of that because you have been pulling animals from a shelter that's maybe full. I think a lot of shelters are dealing with this and dealt with this earlier in the year than they ever have before. And so the biggest thing about this is that when space crises strike, we are seeing more and more of the same messaging over and over from shelters, pulling that lever of we're full over and over. And it's hard because it tends to, if you do it too much, people tend to tune out. And so how do you get your message out there? How do you get people to respond, your community to respond when you know you're full? And so that's what this toolkit is packed with. We always break these toolkits into the same way. There's a learn about it section, then talk about it. So learn about it kind of lays out the visual, the thought process, the why of what this toolkit is about. And then talk about it is all graphics. It's the ability to have, there's multiple media pitches. Those media pitches aren't just, we're full, help us. We've given you some different angles for this. And so frequently when you're full, when your shelter is full, there's a cause for that. Maybe you've had a case come in with animals that you've had to pull from a home, a hoarding type situation. Maybe there is, you've taken in a big group of chihuahuas, let's say. There's unique stories within all of those space crises. And so within that, we also talk a lot about, if you're not talking about foster, if you're not talking and building on these other toolkits that we've created that are prevention based, that's a big part of the space crisis. And so if you're not talking about lost and found, if you're not talking about these other things, we've put in some tools in here for you to be able to work that messaging in, and kind of as a checklist. So if you hit this download button, it will jump to our download. You guys are getting to see how good my internet connection is here. Okay. So you'll see these sections. There's the talking points and media pitches. We've got this getting started guide. Then it's the learn about it. So if you haven't used one of these toolkits before, you can use that here. And so I'll just briefly go over this. We did things a little bit differently in this one, where we've given you a quick action checklist. And we really want you to think about, if you have a space crisis and you need something very fast and you need to know what to do right away, knock through this quick action checklist. These are just 5 actions you can take right away. And then we have media pitches. There's also messaging to your community about lost and found. Even if you're in a rescue and you're not doing open intake, you're not taking in animals, you have a part to play in this. You can help your community understand what they need to do when they find a lost pet. You can have talking points to educate your community. Every organization in this call could be educating their community about what to do in various situations all the time, not just once, not when you're full, but all the time throughout this. And then, I'm talking to you all a little bit differently than I would another group, because you're all directors. So a lot of you are also in control of the way that your operations works. So when you're thinking about doing these things, frequently we're telling marketing folks, talk about this, but if the operations don't back that up, then it makes it really hard for them to have an outlet. So getting your operations to align, to work regularly with your comms team, or to help with your communications, they're all part of it too. Every person in your organization is an advocate, is an influencer to your community. So we've got talking points, we've got graphics, there's this. You've probably seen a lot of folks using something like this. This is a version you can use on your own and modify. We've also seen some really cool things lately where people are putting what the space capacity is of their shelter in these various, what it means. So if this is 200 to 300 animals in your shelter, and then what that looks like for care as well. We've given you some really good examples too. Here's an infographic. There's a lot of times people can't adopt. So what else do you need them to do? Give them other options to support you. Even just sharing pets for adoption is helpful. If you don't ask them to do it, they don't know to do it. So there's various versions of this, both for Instagram and Facebook. There's some adoption promotions here for you to use. There's tons of stuff on foster recruitment. We have an entire kit dedicated to foster. If you haven't used that, this is just a few of the graphics that are also included in there. And then we've got this found pet educational graphic templates as well. So if you aren't not educating your community about what to do if they find a lost pet or they've lost a pet, they can use these graphics. And then I'll turn it over to Erin to take it from here.
I think Casey gave you a great overview of what's in this kit. I would just encourage everybody to look at the 4 kits that have come before it too, because a lot of that messaging will also be very helpful during a space crisis. The second one is about keeping families together. So it's a lot about getting the word out about your safety net programs, about the support that you can give people so that they can hold on to their pets and not feel that surrender is their only option. The kit that we did last month was about building a foster program and expanding your foster program. So that's going to have a lot of great infographics and messaging and media pitches that you can use there too, that'll help you alleviate a spice crisis or hopefully stop it from happening at all.
Awesome. Any questions? I'm going to stop.
I'll stick links to the previous ones in here too. Hang on.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Erin. We can just take a couple of minutes if anybody has questions. Has anybody used the previous toolkits, liked them, wanted to improve on them somehow, tried something that worked well?
We need your help getting the word out. Like after running several shelters, I think that if you don't have a communications person, these toolkits are literally built so that it's all plug and play, and all of our communities are far away from each other enough that we can just copy and share these. They work, they help explain things to the community, and we've only used things that have been proven to be successful. So nothing here is a crapshoot. Everything has worked in another community, and when you're strapped for time, there are things that will work for you too. And I think Heartspeak has been this organization that it's strange to me how they're not like massively funded and supported more within the movement, because they are doing, and they do have some great supporters probably on this call. And Caitlin's not here, but they're an organization. They're the only ones focused entirely on shelter communications. And that's what we're all saying we need so much. And I think there's maybe 2 staff members. And then our team has been jumping in and helping, but they have so much great content. And for everyone having to hire new staff, every new staff person should go and read their website, every new staff person, because it teaches you the core beliefs of a quote progressive animal services agency. And it teaches you how to engage the community, and it teaches you how to get more fosters and adopters. And all of those are communications issues. So if you haven't looked at the Heartspeak website lately, you should check it out, because there's just so much there. And I get emails probably once a day asking for a communications tip or a sample. They're all already there. So I just send people to that website. So they are such an amazing resource, and they need to grow. So if you are so inclined, reach out to Caitlin Quinn about how you can support the work that they're doing. Okay, well, we have just 5 minutes left, and in those 5 minutes, we're going to say thanks again to Maddie's Fund. And usually they give these grants away at conferences, but this year they're giving them away on these calls, which says that they think a lot of you all and the work that you're doing, and find them to be really important places. I have been gone for a couple of weeks and really thinking through the future of these calls. There's nothing terribly urgent happening. We could certainly just take a pause for a couple of months. But when I have talked to all of you, you seem to find value in continuing to get together every week. So as long as you all still find value in that, we're going to keep them going, and try to continue to bring innovative, cutting edge things. Next week, we're going to have any of you seen the new, it's all over the national media, the research that's come out about shelter dog breeds. We're going to have those folks come, and Janice Bradley also come and talk about that research and why it's so important. It's the first time this has ever hit the national media. And then we're just going to keep trying to pull in the smartest, brightest people. And this year, we're going to bring in some private companies who are doing innovative work to talk about the work they're doing, and learn about technology. Because another thing we've been learning is that the pet industry, they're way ahead of us, and they're willing to help us, but we've got to actually start working with them to use those technologies. So we're going to keep them going for now, and love that you're all here. And as always, if you have ideas for calls, if you have speakers you'd like to suggest, please let me know, because every week we're saying, okay, what are we going to do in 3 weeks from now? And your ideas, we'll go back and search your emails, and your ideas keep these calls fresh. And again, we're also looking for guest hosts. So if you're interested, please reach out to me. But thank you all so much for being here. Hope you have a great week. And Humane Canada is next week. You can attend virtually. I will be there and probably doing this call right after my Humane Canada presentation. But please check out that conference. It's an entirely different lineup than the people you're used to hearing speak. And I don't think Kathy's here because I bet we would have heard from her today. She's probably busy getting ready for the conference. So have a great weekend, everybody. And we will see you back here next week. And as always, thanks to Maddie's for keeping these calls going.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Happy Mother's Day to all you dog moms, cat moms, and people moms, and horse moms.